Hello, Mark Larsen here for the Dreamcatcher podcast. Thanks for joining us. Today, my guest is Stan Mangers. So, how are you doing today?
Wonderful.
So, how long ago did we meet, and how did we meet?
We met at the Hastings YMCA, the old YMCA in the Whirlpool, and
Okay.
I was just talking about life and dreams, etc.
Mm-hmm.
And you liked what I was talking about. You said,
Yes.
"Keep going, just keep
Yeah.
going. You're doing good." You
Yeah.
agreed with what my insights were.
Mhm. Yeah. No. And how long ago's that been now?
It's
Probably
been a
long.
few years as the old wide Whirlpool, and we're about
That's true. It
yeah,
was,
yeah.
wasn't it? I forgot about it. So it has been quite a
It's
while.
been quite a while.
So I wish we kind of still had that whirlpool.
And then, but I didn't know of your podcast until right before the election of 2024, the general election.
Okay.
And you and your Mrs. Cheryl and I were
Yep.
talking in the coffee area, having a beautiful talk about what life's all about and everything. And she told me about you, and then you came on out, and we officially met.
Yes. Yes. So Stan, what's a little bit of background? Where were you born, and where were you? I mean, what is just the general background?
Well, the short version here, my great-great-grandparents came from Luxembourg, John and Susanna Mangers, about 1880, over the Atlantic through Ellis Island. Came out to Adams County on a covered wagon and farmed. And so the great-grandparents, my grandparents, my mom and dad all came off the farm.
Okay.
They grew up in the Great Depression, very tough times, and they didn't get rich. My parents had 8th-grade educations, and
Okay.
my dad got into construction, just needed the job to support his 5 children, and he had the American dream. Our first house was over 100 years old.
Wow.
My mother cried the first time she saw it. The carpets were shot.
Oh,
Basement wall with the hot water heater tank was caving in. Dad slowly fixed up the house. He knew what a strong work ethic was.
right,
Day
right.
in and day out. With my uncle, dad, construction company, and slowly remodeled that house over 13 years. And all of a sudden, we came across a very stately dream home, and the American dream. My dad got his dream house. Mom got
Cool.
her dream home, and we kind of went from the ghetto area to a very stately home. It was the
Mhm.
American dream.
Mm-hmm. No, that sounds really cool. So you grew up. What town was that close by?
I've lived in Hastings all my life.
Have you? Okay.
Now,
Okay.
the Roseland, Nebraska, Juniata area is where mom and dad grew up.
Okay.
I'm basically the 5th generation in Adams County of
Okay.
Mangers.
Oh wow. Very
And-
cool.
Mhm.
So we've been talking about some of the things you're doing, and just a background of. I mean, you've been out in Hollywood. I mean, you're
Yes.
writing a book. So how long were you out? I think you've been out in California numerous times, haven't you?
Many times,
So-
too many to count at the moment.
How did you initially go out there?
Well, wow, it's really something. The short version here. My first movie I was in as a background actor was My Antonia, a USA Network's film.
Nice.
It was really a dream come true to get to work with Jason Robards, Eve Marie St. Neil Patrick Harris.
Wow.
Yeah, called My Antonia, based off the Willa Cather novel.
Yeah.
My Antonia.
Yeah.
And background actor, and I always wanted, since I was a child, to maybe be an actor, movie star, President of the United States, all kinds of things. Great athlete, radio broadcaster.
Sure,
who
yeah.
knows? I had the dream, and
Right.
and after being in My Anthony, the background actor, it was really incredible. I didn't have any money or anything, and living paycheck to paycheck. And I met this lady at a church in Hastings, and became really close friends.
Okay.
And she knew I really, at that time, really become a big time actor. I call them the movie stars.
Uh-huh.
And she admired my convictions and my passion, and I had no money. And then the 24th of August of 1996, we were in a car accident together.
Yeah,
in
that's
Friend, Nebraska.
Hmm.
It was not our fault at all.
Oh,
She died within an hour, and it just about
sorry about
killed
that.
me too. A helicopter fight.
Wow.
Tons of prayer and being in fantastic physical shape saved my life. And 4.5 months of bed rest to see if I was going to get well.
Right.
Totally. But I came into a lot of money from that car accident because it was not
Okay.
my fault at all.
Okay.
Didn't have to have no attorney or anything to get the settlements. They gave us everything
They
they had.
just-
The insurance company apologized it wasn't more.
Wow.
Suddenly going from $1 in my billfold when the car accident happened, no phone, no car, suddenly I came in all this money and I got well.
Mhm.
Hollywood, here I come.
Oh, there you go. Okay. Okay.
Oh, I still can't believe myself. So I went out there. Bed, after my 4.5 months of bed rest, I beat the odds.
Mm-hmm.
I was well, no surgery, hip replacement, or anything. And February of 1997,
Mm-hmm.
doctor all clear. My dad took me down to the train station and seen his son off for Hollywood.
Okay. Was that intimidating?
I
To-
still can't. It's emotional.
I could see that too.
I got well. I didn't
Okay.
die,
Yeah.
and wasn't crippled. I came in all that money, a dream come true. I get to
Mhm.
go to Hollywood. I have all this money, no bills.
Yeah.
I'm on the train to go to Hollywood to become an actor. Dad shook hands, smiled goodbye, and
Cool.
took off for Hollywood February '97, and that was my first time out there, 1997. Then I met this film director on the train.
Okay.
When I was in Denver, I stopped and stayed with my uncle and aunt there for a few days, and I got back on the train in downtown Denver. My uncle gave me this business planner, and the
Mhm.
planner, famous quotes by famous people to inspire you, daily message.
Sure. Uh-huh.
The quote was from Oprah Winfrey. Luck is a matter. I'm sorry. Luck is a matter of preparation meeting opportunity.
True.
So I thought I'd get back on the train then. It was one of the last times the Amtrak Desert Wind ever ran. I thought, get on that train, have presence, believe in yourself the moment.
Amen.
First step.
Yes.
My suede jacket on,
Uh-huh.
my blue jeans. Hollywood, here I come.
Yeah,
And
exactly.
guess what happened? A film director was watching me. Yes,
Wow.
he discovered me, and so that paid off that strategy. I was ready to possibly meet somebody connected with Hollywood, and happened there. And promised me a career. It never later happened in life, but I'm glad actually it didn't happen now. So for many years, I had the show business dream in my mind. I was offered a job in a soap opera.
Okay.
As a background actor, and love making scenes on Miami Beach.
Okay.
And it was, money was on the table. Let's get down there. And it's easy to say no to that.
Yeah.
Because I believe in sexual purity. I belong to the Roman Catholic Church. And anyway, years went by, and I did some more work, a little bit radio, and just lots of things, being a caregiver. But my first trip was in February of '97.
Okay.
But anyway, here I am now, and I'm at this office here. Volunteered free by the Hastings Salvation Army. I'm in the process of writing a book about the decline of the American family.
Okay.
I believe heaven and success begin in the family.
Yes, I do too.
Raised, a divided house cannot stand. Your first question, Mark, where we came from, 1880, John Susanna Mangers, over Ellis Island, covered wagon in Adams County.
Mm-hmm.
How my parents, the 8th grade education, the American dream, and how I started in my dreams. And I always dreamt of these things, like I said earlier, of actor, president, whatever.
Right.
Lawyer,
Dream big, yes.
I dreamed big, and
yes.
And those dreams really have all come true.
Very cool.
But I consider myself really late bloomer in life. I went broke over the show business, Hollywood dream. Eventually, it didn't happen for me. The productions I was going to thought I'd be a part of, they come to a halt. So I went broke, and I had all my eggs in a few baskets. My trust was too much in man. My trust is in God.
Yes.
God works through people. And
yes.
So I learned a very valuable lesson, my faith. And I feel free now, but the book is about my story. Like I said, from John Susanna Mangers, a transgenerational sin, to where we're at right now. You and I are family. It takes two to tangle.
It does.
Nobody gets confused and screwed up by themselves. And they can read my story, my kind of a transformative novel memoir.
Okay.
Get some answer from my story and what happened to me, how I went broke several times in life.
Okay.
How God will never forsake us. He has a plan.
Yep.
To read my story, and like you, what I see in this nation, and I feared it too. I didn't want to be working to live. living to work, and I really think
Yes.
90% of this nation is right
Oh,
now.
definitely. I agree.
And I see drudgery. I don't see enjoyment.
I don't either.
Drudgery, and it's just we're just I don't want to get political here at all, but it's sad,
It is.
and I want to see everybody. I'm a strong believer in work. God
Me
created the
too.
world in 6 days, and the seventh day rested.
Right.
And it's about workmanship and everything, but not drudgery.
No.
I see just drudgery.
Definitely a difference. Yes.
Badly overworked, underinsured. And to me, everything is about family. I really
Amen.
believe in God, and the Lord doesn't want to see anybody lost.
Nope.
We're His children. Want to see everybody make it to heaven.
Yes. Yes.
And they can read the story what happened to me, and hopefully get something out of it. Maybe can have some answers to persevere, like the Apostle Paul talked about. The thorn. Jesus said, "I'm not going to take that thorn out of your side." Trial, persecution, etc. I'm going to keep you humble. My grace is sufficient. Your faith will be perfected. And
Yep.
so don't give up. Keep fighting the fight.
Amen. Yes. Yes. So, inspirational. I mean, I love that. So, I asked you earlier today. So when you were growing up, what were your dreams?
Like I mentioned earlier, I started listening to radio. I was born October 5th, 1960.
Okay.
And us kids back then, we had going around with transistor radios in our pockets, calling the radio station for requests.
Right, yeah.
Bye Bye American Pie.
Yeah. I remember that song, yes.
And, we just, I love listening to radio by my bed at night. I was 11 years old already calling the radio station, FM station, talking to the radio announcer. And I'd practice radio on my cassette recorder, and I loved read newspapers, etc. I dreamt of being like another Tom Brokaw news anchor, and I just really followed that very closely, history.
Okay.
And how our lives really coincide with history too.
True.
Our moods, and how it affects all of us. And like I said, being maybe a movie star, I admired Michael Landon the most, John Wayne's, the golden age of television. I've been a hairstylist too. I enjoyed that. That's where the dreams were, and I followed them. I just kept persevering to where I'm at now. But where I'm at now, I just, like I said, want people, if they read this book and they can identify what happened to me, how I got set back in life, and like I said earlier, get some wisdom.
Yes.
Out of it, that I'm not alone. It happened to Stan too, and he did not give up. And I know God.
Yeah.
Our bishop taught us. He said, every morning you get out of bed, expect amazing things to happen, and they truly will.
I agree 100%, and they will. Yes. No, I mean, that is so awesome. So we were talking about it also earlier. So what for one thing, I was going to ask you, what's the name of the book? What is going to be the title?
I think it's going to be right this moment, The Decline of the American
That's
Family.
going to be the title?
Like I said, the transgenerational sin, for Adam and Eve, to all of us, it's passed down. I really believe, I don't care. I've never been a parent, but I can only imagine, because we're imperfect beings. No matter how hard a parent tries with their child, they're not going to be perfect. You see over there, Mr. Tom Osborne, Mentoring Matters. He explains what happened between him and his father. And it's just a decline of the American family, maybe from the heartland. There's a gentleman by the name of Pat Sajak, of Wheel of Fortune, gave a talk, Iowa college commencement address back in June of 2002. And Pat Sajak talked about Hollywood's disconnect from the heartland. Hollywood's reality, they don't realize the heartland, rural America, really what we truly want programming, and somewhat their political reality.
Yeah.
They're disconnected from us.
Very, very much.
And I'm going to talk about that too. My personal experiences, my emotional, mental, psychological setbacks in life, etc. And I kept persevering, and what it really influenced me, like the golden age of television.
Yes.
We could sit there and today, being a Christian, all the secular programming in Hollywood, it's a very poor influence.
Very much.
Back Bonanza, meaning great prosperity, the Big Valleys, the Cochise, the Brady Bunch, Gilligan Slap,
Yeah.
Beverly Hillbillies. I call that the golden age of television. I
Me
wouldn't have
too.
to screen that today
No, you
at
wouldn't.
all for my children. There was nothing sexual. Everything was righteous.
Yeah.
There's a deep innocence back then.
Very much.
Deep innocence of people. Kind of talk about a naiveness in a way, but I don't know, hard to explain. A deep innocence to be cherished. They knew right from wrong, and I don't know what
Yeah.
happened that where Hollywood went this direction, like the late 1970s, and it continued to go down this
Oh,
way.
yeah, it's terrible.
And the reality TV now, and what's going on, and
Mhm.
what's really true, it's just the golden age of television taught us life's lessons.
It did.
I'll never forget, Mark. I come back home in 7th grade, spring 1974.
Mhm.
They had reruns of Bonanza.
Uh-huh.
And now we're in a beautiful stately home too, in the family room watching
Right.
Bonanza. And just watching it, they're always helping their neighbors. They were righteous. They knew what forgiveness and integrity was.
Yes.
They were just incredible role models. And the lady south of my parents was a widowed woman. Our neighbor, she lost her little girls, 2-3 years old. Her husband died. She had a broken heart.
Wow.
I just remember standing on my dad's south lawn by the American flag one day at the episode Bonanza and Hoss Cartwright. I looked at my dad like he was a Ben Cartwright, his hair kind of.
Uh-huh.
Right. I thought my father would want me to help Mrs. Boninger south of my parents.
Yes.
So I helped her for 10 years.
Oh, wow.
And
that's awesome.
Bonanza influenced me, the golden age of television.
It does. In fact, my wife Cheryl and I were just talking about that. You have to screen everything anymore if you had kids.
Yes, you do.
I mean, I'm glad I grew up when I did. Because I don't know how there's so many avenues where the kids can see stuff and how would you get us back to, if I don't know if we'd ever get back quite to that, but get us out to a place in this country where kids can be, we don't seem to cherish innocence of children anymore.
Yes.
And it's no wonder that, because I've done podcasts with suicide, and suicide preteens in the United States is number 5, the reason. And I mean, they're young, and I would never at that age or ever thought about that. But it's just like these kids, well, they had interviewed, these kids have no hope,
Exactly. And, well, like I said, back in about 1978, whatever it was, we were the richest middle class in the world, the United States of America.
Yep.
How far is that drop?
Would be 31st in the world now.
Yeah.
And parents, like an unwed mother that has children, she's working like 2 jobs and, to survive. And she can't be for their children's sporting events that are badly overworked. And so there's no mentoring, there's no influence. Just everything. It's just like I just feel like I don't know what's happened to this nation.
I don't either.
The cultural political divide. Like, for example, what I deem to be politically correct, my personal convictions of political correctness are the criteria starts from the Bible says the love of money is the root of all sources of evil.
Yep.
And I just see this nation right now where we're at, the rich and the poor, what's going on. And for many years, I've been here since the late 1980s, that right before the presidential election, for example, my billfold's fatter than it was 4 years ago.
Yeah.
I'm going to vote this way. Everybody is thinking of themselves, their family, their own personal interests, who they vote for.
Yep.
And I say this, if you want to really get to the bottom of all this evil, political, etc., in this country, in the whole world, it starts with the love of money, the root of all source of evil. Let's get to the root of this.
Yep.
I see this selfishness.
Oh, extreme
myself.
Selfishness. Yes.
And I say, like I said, that what the Bible says, the love of money, the root of all source of evil. And number 2, we cannot serve 2 masters.
True.
We can't serve 2
Nope,
masters. Let's
can't.
stop thinking of ourselves. Let's think of this whole nation as a whole.
Yep.
I really believe in free health care. They get people, it should be a constitutional right. Nobody should be denied that.
I agree with
and
you
we're
on that.
badly overworked.
We are. Yes.
Look at Europe.
Yep.
I really believe, been told by my scholarly friends, it's a much better quality of life in Europe.
It is.
And they've told me Americans need to stop and slow down and enjoy life.
Yep.
We cut down our hours. I mean, like 28 hours a week.
We do. And didn't mean to rush you. So, but actually, we noticed that because Cheryl and I, we actually had the blessing to go to Italy 2 years ago, and it was refreshing because those people, they are slowed down. I mean, they some of the nicest people I've ever met too. They get it. They get what's important and what's not important, or as important. And I told Cheryl it reminded me of the United States quite a few decades back. So, but yeah, what you're saying, slow down
We
and
need to slow down. I really believe that, the abortion issues to me and LGBTQ stuff, that's a really difficult area. I'm not going to get into that and understand that. I like what Pope Francis said, that we're all God's children. We're all to love each other unconditionally. And
Yep.
I just see this hatred and anger, jealousy in our country. And I just really believe that we've stopped working American people to death, and they can spend much more time with their children and family and the health care and everything, that abortion is going to go down. Abortion is really going to go down.
Yes.
These mass shootings are going to go down.
I agree.
Everything, people's health is going to get better.
It will.
It's going to help our Medicare, Medicaid, all this. It's going to help everything.
Yep.
Everything's going to go better. But and I hear this, such a happier society. And in the wars and everything we have, and I just hear this, well, that'll never happen. This lady said at church at Bible study once, well, with an attitude like that, it never will happen.
It's true.
I believe it still can happen. History repeats itself in cycles, and
it does.
People need to make their voices known. I just really believe life was never intended to be living the way we live it.
I 100% agree.
God created the Garden of Eden, and just look what's happened. I don't see enjoyment here. I see
very little.
I see endurance, drudgery.
Yep, me too.
Work and live and work.
Yep, and I do too. And I hope that we're a kind of a group that's changing that. With your book, and then with the podcast, and with other people out there. Because I did one the other day. It's like how my grandparents lived. They went through the Depression and stuff, but they still got together and enjoyed friendship. They got almost a lot on there, and they definitely lived a life differently than what we're living today by a long ways. And and I have some of the best memories going to see my grandparents.
Life.
Very much.
I remember sitting down with Grandpa and Grandma and uncles and aunts. They'd come over to our house. They play cards for the evening.
Yep, us too.
Play cards. I mean, we had a good time.
A lot of cards, yes.
And I just, I'll tell you, Mark, that generation back, Tom Brokaw wrote the book about the greatest generation.
Yes.
He's a Nebraskan, a little bit South Dakota, KTV, Omaha. And they lived through the Dust Bowl and the Great Depression, World War II, very tumultuous times. I hate to say this, though, how poor they were. I'll never forget when I seen the movie
very much.
of The Grapes of Wrath. Henry Fonda, John Steinbeck wrote about the farmers. What do you call it? They harvested the fields in Oklahoma. Dirt farmers, or
something. I'm not sure.
Yeah,
but I know what you're talking about. Yeah,
how poor they were. I've seen that movie. I'll never forget it. And I think that generation, though, is really scarred. They had so little.
They did.
And so many people I know, they work themselves. They're always saying, well, like with what's going on in our country now, they don't want to work welfare people. They want to live off the government.
They do.
Well, perfect honesty, some of them do, and some of them don't. And I think the ones that do want to live off the government, they come from a really poor, impoverished neighborhood, and they don't have the outlook we have. They didn't get the education in their ghetto school, the violence. A lot of them become great athletes to get out of it. They're just discouraged. They're still a racist country. They're discouraged, and they don't even want to fight. They're so scarred, and of course there's laziness involved, and then there's people that really need it. But I just see this. It's all about an attitude. If we give those people, poor people, really good attitude, not just a handout, sure, but a hand up.
Yes,
For them
amen.
a chance to catch their breath.
Yes, yes.
I mean, really catch their breath.
Yeah.
In California, they're trying to get them back in their housing and everything. The biggest homeless population in the world, Southern California.
Really?
I
Did not
drove
realize that.
some of the homeless people around myself and out there and help them wake them. It's
Wow.
unbelievable. They're everywhere. It's a good idea to get them off the streets and shelter and everything. But, all this, we can't take away free will.
No, true.
And I can understand government today, how hard people worked, like my dad did, to get out of the ghetto. Why should I just give it away? They can work themselves out of it. Well, there's truth. There must be grace.
Yeah.
If there was enough grace and a positive outlook in these people's lives, they would want to work.
True.
Because you should want to work. What your podcast is all about.
Right.
But they're slaves, and they just work out of it. And to go I really believe there should be free college tuition too.
I agree too.
Everything would be different.
It would be.
Our country would take a hit at first.
Yep.
But after a while, the more you give, the more you receive. They would get into our workforce, upper middle class jobs and everything.
Yep.
They'd be paying more taxes into the system. It would come back. It would come back to this country. It really would.
It would.
And that's
and like on this podcast, I've talked to quite a few people with what you're talking, free, medical care and free tuition, and it works very well for a lot of those countries. And
yes, it does.
And it's just like, why do we not try and do it even better than what they're doing? Copy them, but it's like, why we're supposed to be the best country in the world, but then we're falling behind on a lot of things.
Yeah.
And
well, no, I believe what they say, the richest country in the world, our economic resource center of the breadbasket in the world. We feed the world. But look at how much the rich have accumulated.
Yes.
And are they going to spend all that money?
No.
Yeah, I mean, why can't they share? I mean,
they should want to.
Yeah, they should want to share.
It's like everything you get is from God, a gift from God,
exactly.
A blessing. And it's just like, He didn't just give that to you. He did it for you to help people,
Yes.
And
I like that. I'm very pleased with the College of Cardinals conclave electing our new Pope, Leo the 14th.
Mm-hmm.
What's going on in this world? And like I said, I'm not going to get political with anybody. Men sharpen men, iron sharpen iron. But I said earlier, what I deem to be what my political correctness is, the love of money, the root of all sorts of evil. We can't serve two masters.
Yep.
And all of us not thinking of ourselves coming to the country as a whole, and just unbelievable. The whole world is going on right now. And I just astounded, and I just see this. I thought there could be a chance of the conclave electing a United States American Pope for the first time ever.
Mm-hmm.
I just had a feeling about it. Because this cultural battle, rich and poor, and the whole world in turmoil.
Yes.
The richest country in the world, providence, mysticism, whatever you want to call it. I just said, you never know. They can go to, a United States American Pope. But I thought it was a very slim shot.
Mm-hmm.
But it did.
Yep.
And I don't believe in coincidence.
I don't either.
And Pope Leo the 14th, I feel like everything I've talked about today, he's basically said himself.
Yes.
We share and do what the Lord did.
Yes.
We're not going to have any more wars either.
Nope.
There's no excuse for this nonsense.
I know, boy, do I agree on that.
Yes. Leaders, there's no excuse for it.
There is none.
There's got to be a way we can work this out.
No.
Is it worth it?
Yeah.
We can do self-defense, but to go out, conquer other countries, and do what we're doing, the innocent lives and children, people lost.
Yeah, so much loss.
It does not have to be this way at all.
It doesn't.
And that's part of the book, back to once again. They can read my story, where my parents came from, how we evolved. Dad got us out of the ghetto, extraordinary man. But I've seen it in so many families, how hard they work to get out of it.
Yep.
And they can become selfish. They can work out of it like we did. Well, where there's truth, there must be grace.
Mm-hmm.
And why should have to? Dad pushed himself beyond extraordinary limits.
Mm-hmm.
Physically, mentally. He's an extraordinary man to did what he did with his life. But everything comes at a cost.
It does.
We loved him, and I wish personally I could have spent more time with him. It comes at a cost, and one of my cousins, his dad made it really big in farming, probably a millionaire. He says the same thing I do. I wish I could have the money and everything. That is really worth it. He accumulated. I wish I could have spent more time with my dad.
I can see that.
They're not going to use all that money. They're not even
No.
probably going to use 10% of it.
Nope.
And it just isn't worth it. We'll work out like we did. Well, you had the breaks, you had the graces.
Yeah.
But it came at a cost. Were you there for your wife and your children? No, a lot of parents weren't there. Tom Osborne even admits it.
Mm-hmm.
He wasn't there enough for his children, wife and Nancy. She wanted him to retire. I don't know. I just think we got it all wrong. And
I agree, yes.
And then, but just, I don't know. Everything mirrors everything related to, like I said, the history, the whole world, our own personal history, like I keep saying. And then how everything came to where we're at in this nation, the world right now.
Mm-hmm.
It's just flabbergasting.
It is.
And we've made it complex, and I really believe it isn't even complex.
No,
it's
I agree.
Simple. God knows what he's doing, but
he does. So I heard it on the radio the other day. I was listening, and it said that they had interviewed children. Going back to children, 50% of the children they interviewed had never heard of God. How do we get? I mean, how could?
That's one of the things that really bugs me. Personal experience, once again, this will probably be in the book, Mark.
Okay.
I'm a cradle Catholic.
Okay.
Both sides, my dad's side, my mother's side.
Okay.
I went a little bit of Catholic school. We had no choice. Sunday, you go to church, mass, or you don't leave the house.
Okay.
So later, we got the cocky age. We started skipping out a little bit. Our parents taught us mass in the Catholic faith.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I heard of all these other religions out there in the United States, in this town, everywhere.
Mm-hmm. Right.
I wondered what else was out there. I had a hunger for spirituality, etc.
Okay.
Our neighbors were Mormon.
Okay.
And I got to know them. Then there's a New Testament church here in Hastings that met. So over the years, I might have visited 34 non-Catholic churches in Hastings. And God has spoken to me somehow in every single church I've visited. And if we go back to what you're talking about, your question about God, and divided house cannot stand, and how it weakens our cause.
It does.
And you look at Martin Luther.
Yes.
He did not want a Protestant Reformation, I was told. He wanted reforms made in the Catholic Church.
Okay.
Talk about Satan, the author of confusion.
Mm-hmm.
Jesus said nothing would break his church. Facts are facts. Truth is truth. God is love. And you look at his greatest commandments.
Mm-hmm.
Love thy God with all thy heart and soul, mind, body, spirit.
Yep.
Love one another. Do unto others you want them to do unto you. Love thy neighbor as thyself, etc. God is love.
Amen.
And now, after what happened with Martin Luther, and sure, the Catholic Church did lots of bad things, but so did the other churches. The churches were all evolving.
Yes.
They were evolving. They had to start somewhere, and the churches did make reforms. We have a Second Vatican Council, remember?
Okay.
And they made changes, but for 1,600 and some years, the Roman Church was basically the only church. Look how it grew to 1.4 billion Catholics to today. What is there? 80,000 Protestant denominations?
That would not surprise me.
I mean, there's hardly a few million non-Catholics altogether,
Mm-hmm.
and now we have this paranoia, a mass confusion, and with children about God. I mean, what is it? I had the same confusion. Is it Catholic or Methodist or Baptist or Mormon? What is it? Which one?
Right.
They're all so sincere and powerful. They make sense.
Yep.
And they're showing us the Bible. And certain parts of the Bible. And I can see where they think the Roman Catholic Church is not, totally biblical. But when we read a book from start to finish, like my book, everything I said today, as scattered as it may be, this book's going to be put together where you're going to understand it from the cover of it, from start to finish, in its total context, in metaphorical, etc. And now the Bible, they take bits and pieces in Martin Luther and all this. And we have this mass confusion, and we have a pride there, sure. My parents were Baptist or Catholics or whatever, they pass down the faith.
Mhm.
I love mom and dad so much, and I believe in our faith. I don't want to disappoint mom and dad. Things like
Right.
confusion. And there becomes a pride issue in that.
Mhm.
Well, you know what the middle letter of sin is? It's pride.
Yep.
A middle letter of sin is I.
Mhm.
Pride, I. Sin,
Right.
I.
Mhm.
And now we have this, how bad things look like now. For example,
Yeah.
the New Testament, the book of Revelation. Are we in the end times?
Makes you wonder.
We very well could be in the end times,
Mhm.
and we very well might not be.
Yeah.
But my point is, this division of religions and everything. Well, Stan's a Catholic, he's not saved, or so and so not a Catholic, he's not saved, he's going to go to hell. I see when kids are so confused.
They are.
The parents aren't there. They're badly overworked, and everything I said, they're not there. They're not getting that
Yep.
love and affection and mentoring what Tom Osborne talks about.
Mhm.
He's going around, Nebraska, the high school program, mentoring students. Mom and dad weren't there because they were too busy working,
Yep.
and etc.
Yeah.
But I'm getting, this thing here. Now there's a paranoia. Like I said, is Stan saved? He's Catholic. So and so's not Catholic. Are they going to go to hell?
Mhm.
These poor children. It's like a tug of war.
Yep.
They don't know which way to go, and what do I believe in? And then the New Age movement comes along, and I'm not even saying that's necessarily bad, because they got part of the truth, okay?
Mhm.
But you know what I'm saying?
Yep.
Everything is just so fractured with the greatest commandments. God doesn't change. He said nothing was break his church. And lastly, the best I can clarify this right now,
Mhm.
and I think it stresses me to talk about it, the world has become so cynical.
Oh,
So
yes.
cynical.
Yes.
It's like faith in God almost has been destroyed.
Pretty much.
It's like it's not real faith anymore.
Mhm.
It's a symbolic meaning.
Yep.
I'm going to go to church. It's good for my business. It's good. It's good to go.
Mhm.
But when it comes to really believing, the facts, just what I said, the love of money, the root of all sorcery,
Mhm.
etc. Believing in the Bible and these facts, people are just so cynical. It's been destroyed. I hate that phrase. People, who knows? Oh, what the HELL?
Yeah.
Oh, what the hell?
Yeah.
We don't know. No, we don't know for sure.
Mhm.
But the faith has become symbolic. Cynicism is like it's been destroyed. The credibility's almost been destroyed. But there are Christians out there, I've met them, that I really believe have died to self. They're being obedient to God the best they can.
Yes.
They pick up their cross every day. In order to be my disciple, follow me. They're doing it. They're carrying their crosses. But I just don't see that in this richest country in the world. Like I keep
Mhm.
saying, this cultural political divide. What goes it for me? What has it done for me?
Mhm.
Well, we continue with that attitude. We're going to continue to go down this road.
I agree.
Yeah. In summary, that's basically what this book's
Okay.
all about.
Okay. So you do public speaking?
I haven't yet, but my dream here on this book, we start from where we are, and I am who I am today. Look a little
Right.
tired. My first podcast I've ever done, but the public speaking part, kind of the dream is,
Okay.
like I said, how I got to this nation, how I evolved with the grandparents all the way where I'm at now, my parents, and how I see this nation evolve, my observances, the structure of the American family, how things that went to pieces, and how sick we are morally now that,
Yeah.
and I believe everything's about love and family. And if the book published and stuff, and et cetera, the dream is to have a big old bus.
Mm-hmm.
It's going to be decorated.
Okay.
American flag.
Okay.
And it's going to say, America's reuniting the
Cool.
American family. America's reuniting the American family. I dream of going around schools, institutions, and talking about what we've talked about today. Hopefully, be more sharper, more clear,
What a wonderful
distinct,
dream.
and so the kids and the parents and the politicians, the president, Congress, everybody, we're all responsible for each other. We manufacture. It's really sad, I believe, our own criminals, but we manufacture also our own magnificent successes.
Amen.
We
Love
can
it.
do it. And man, things can change so much overnight.
Oh, yeah.
Attitude, paradigm shift.
Mm-hmm.
Where people hear a story and guy's got a lot of bizarre stories and everything. Gee, boy, it kind of went in our family a little bit, this dysfunction stuff too. And bullying, I was bullied really bad in school. And they're going to go, God, I don't feel so bad. But
No.
Stan went through and his
Yep.
insecurities.
Yep.
I don't feel so bad. And he makes a lot of sense.
Yep. The people are waiting to hear your stories.
Yeah, they're waiting to hear the
it's
stories.
like, yeah, he went through it, and look, he's doing,
You can do it.
Yeah, you can.
I got 9,000 pages here in my office, Hastings Salvation Army over there in the sofa. I can't believe it.
Yeah, that's a few over there.
9,000 pages, and we're totally transparent with God. We give Him our very best. He's going to give us what we can't do for ourselves.
Yes.
I heard this, Kelvin. None even said it to me before. God helps those that help themselves. Well, I said, second, I told that to a few Christian people like you. I looked up to, and they said, that's not in the Bible, Stan. One was Catholic, wasn't Catholic. That's not in the Bible. God helps those that help themselves. It's in the Bible. God helps those that can't help themselves. And I tell the kids and everybody, Michael Landon said to his children, I'm not just going to give you your money. You're going to work for it, because he did not want to rob them of their sense of accomplishment.
True.
That'd be like robbing a blind person's sense of accomplishment.
Right.
Stealing from a blind person. Can't
Exactly.
See. But I believe God helps you when He knows you're trying.
I agree.
And He's going to do what you can't do for yourselves, and you're really tired, like I'm a little bit now, and etc. He's going to help you. What we're in your weaknesses, and He knows you're exhausted. You can't take any more. It'll happen, because 9,000 page journal. It's happened for me.
That is so awesome.
I can't believe it myself.
Oh, that is so awesome. I like I said earlier, I still think you need to be speaking, podcasting, whatever. I mean, you have such passion.
Thank you. I am just so blessed, Mark. We can go on for how long we've been going now?
We have been going 42 minutes.
We can go on longer, but I just see this. Everybody has a voice.
Yep.
Mark, in the family and everywhere in society. God's not a respecter of people. And like I said, I just see this drudgery and everything. I don't see enjoyment at all.
No, I don't either.
I see a lot of hell on earth. It's just sickening, because you look at that sky and those mountains, that ocean. It's such a beautiful world.
It is.
I just can't imagine. Why can't we get along?
Yeah.
Why can't we get along?
Yep.
What is the problem?
Yep.
It's plain old selfishness.
It is.
Come on, rich people. I'm happy. God wants us to be prosperous, but not to hoard and be selfish.
Yep.
And everything could just be so. I hear all these people complain, these school shootings, all this, that politician, all the blame and everything. And it's like, it doesn't have to be that way. It's all of us together. Working together, taking responsibility of ourselves and everybody around us, and making sacrifices. And people just don't want to make that paradigm shift.
They don't.
They don't. It's just it. And I'll tell you, Mark, the passion of public speaking, etc. Like I said, I really think I can make a difference in these unique
I know you can.
experiences in life. It just flabbergasts me, and I don't know. I'll tell you that, summarizing, that's kind of, how my story today, how I've evolved.
Okay.
And I keep going here. I just see this. Boy, I know things can be so much different. This gentleman by the name of Cardinal Carroll, Wojtyła, whatever his name was, John Paul II.
Okay.
What a story. He was an actor in theater. And they sent him in theater that you're such a sensitive man, you should be a priest. Well, the rest of the story. John Paul II. And I'll never forget Midnight Mass, 1998, our local station, NBC always carried it. Midnight Mass. John Paul II said, I'm already really excited. A year from tonight, 1999, the next millennium.
Right.
He said, I believe this last millennium was Satan's millennium. Satan was having a ball with mankind, the bloodbath wars we've had. And he
Yes.
believed, I believe this millennium is going to be God's millennium. The world's going to become a better place. I'm very excited about it.
Mm-hmm.
And he called it the springtime of the church. John Paul II is the only Christian I've heard say that.
Uh-huh.
I went up to the Catholic priest. What do you think about the Pope? Said, we hope so.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
if I'm going to listen to anybody, it's going to be the Pope.
Uh-huh.
You know, and I just still believe it can get better. And throughout history, things go in cycles.
They do.
Hairstyles,
Yep.
you know, etc. I think history has a tendency to repeat itself in cycles.
Yep.
But it can be broken. Martin Luther King Jr. broke a cycle of history. Certain people in our history, Thomas Jefferson, etc., they have broken cycles. One man can help to break a cycle,
Yes.
along with other
Yes.
people uniting.
Yes.
I love that speech. Robert Kennedy, I read in the encyclopedia as a kid.
Mm-hmm.
He said, some people believe there is nothing one man or woman can do against the enormous rays of the world's ills.
Mm-hmm.
Yet it was the 32-year-old Thomas Jefferson that proclaimed all men are created equal. Young Napoleon, center these people and reclaim the territory of France, whatever, all these people. And he said each time a man stands up for an act, a life act, ideal, importance, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Moral courage is a rarer commodity than great courage in battle or great intelligence.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
Yeah.
What a compliment.
Yeah.
Kennedy said, moral courage is a greater commodity than great courage in battle or great intelligence. And he said, each time a man stands up for an ideal, it sends forth a small ripple of hope, daring crisscrossed by a million different centers of energy, can sweep down the mightiest walls of oppression and resistance. Teddy Kennedy ran this at his brother's funeral, Bobby's funeral, and he said, my brother need not be idealized larger than he was in real life, simply to be remembered as a decent human being. Saw a war was wrong, and all these things that were wrong.
Yep.
Right. And anyway, I remember that speech and things, and I just see, I don't know, all this is going to come together somehow, Mark. I totally rely on God's providence, and I don't know, it's just our priorities. It's just,
Yep.
I'll never forget back in 1980, Mark, our church bulletin, St. Michael's Church in Hastings, talked about the fall of the Roman Empire.
Mm-hmm.
Sports was a big thing. Politics was a form.
Right.
Religion was a form. Homosexuality, fornication was awful. Everybody was screwing the government out of their taxes. They morally rotted from within. The foundation, the control the government had over its people, they morally rotted from it. Came down.
Yep.
Foundation collapsed. They lost control of their people.
Mm-hmm.
And at 1980, our church, it sounds like our country.
It does.
Right now.
Very much.
What has happened, I just can't believe it, that households of whoever's for president, they're not speaking to each other.
Yep.
We're to pray for our enemies. We're to work together in this bad-mouthing our president or whoever it is behind their back. That isn't going to do any good, people. You're not sending love. God is love.
Yes.
And these kids that don't believe in God, that's one of the reasons why they don't believe in it now, in organized religion.
Mm-hmm.
People taking advantage of that.
Yep.
God is love, the golden rule. And love conquers everything.
It does.
You want your kids to believe in God, you teach them love, and to love thy neighbor as thyself.
Yes.
The greatest commandments.
Yes.
And that I can't get any clearer than that. And but I'm going to sign off for now with Mr. Mark Larsen for now.
That is good. I was just going to ask you if there was anything else you wanted to share before we ended the podcast. So is that good? Okay. Well, thank you for joining me on the Dreamcatcher podcast, Stan. And until next time, take care.
Thank you, Mark.